actually given by Chuck Higgins, since Len Garcia is not here. So, and Chuck is going to give all of the policy. So the next 45 minutes are his, but he claims he's going to do it in less. So our enforcer is back there. But anyway, first we'll talk about archiving data, and then secondly, the introduction to computer science.
Okay, so as Jim said, Len Garcia is our main scientist who wrote up the Radio Jove archive for us. So I'll just have a few slides to talk about the archive. Why do we want it? Why submit to the archive? Well, as Dick had mentioned and Jim had mentioned, that we're trying to get the data more science-oriented. And the more data that we have, especially if it's calibrated, it's going to be more useful for us for scientific purposes. So, and also it helps you, the archive, if you can look at the archive and see if you've got some signals, maybe you don't know what it was, you can check against somebody else who's uploaded their data to the archive, and that could perhaps confirm or deny what signals you got. So it's a useful tool. And you know, it's kind of fun to say, hey, I've got my data on the Radio Jove archive. I hope that's fun. So it's useful, and we do appreciate those of you who have been dedicated in the past to give us data. So Len prepared this. I gave you an older version of this yesterday, but Len prepared this as of May. This is the holdings of the Radio Jove archive, and you see we have nearly 6,000 image files. Now some of these are multiple images for, say, a Jupiter observation or something, but lots of solar and lots of Jupiter data uploaded in various forms, either screenshot images, a feature that Jim didn't mention, Jim Sky didn't mention, I don't think, is that SkyPipe allows you to capture your screen as a JPEG file, and then you can just upload that very easily to the archive. SkyPipe data files, you can download those, and if you're interested, and then play them back in your SkyPipe and see what somebody else's signal looked like or Jupiter looked like. And text files or sound files are also appreciated. We're also starting to work on getting spectrograph files onto the archive. So that's again going to be more useful for us scientifically. And believe it or not, I mean, we welcome interference files. I mean, that's a key part of learning how to distinguish a Jupiter burst or a solar burst or something real versus something that may not be real. There's a lot of things out there that'll trick you, and we like to have a list of the tricks out there that's so you can take a look and say, this is a bad power supply for your lamp in your living room or something, or the electric blanket noisemaker. So feel free to, if you recorded something interesting interference-wise, please upload it. So the archive again is for you to browse and look at other people's data. It's on the radiojove.org website, and as Jim mentioned, you will need to get a password. So this is so folks don't upload the latest YouTube videos or some other garbage that we don't want. So he's the gatekeeper, and you can just send him an email, and he'll send you the password and allow you to. And we're assuming you'll be responsible once you get that password. Okay? And then a couple of screenshots. I showed this yesterday. So the best way to do is once you get to the home page, you just click on the calendar view, and that allows you to see what's there. And if you click on one of the icons here, what comes up is a list of the data files, the data records that are in the archive, who submitted them, what kind of target is it, what feature, if somebody's gone to the trouble of inputting that information, and then what data products. So are they images? Are they WAV files? That tells you over here what's there. And as Jim Tiemann mentioned, you've got a nice, with some of the spectrograph files, you can compare your observations with somebody else's. So this is Dave's from Florida, and then Tom Ashcraft from New Mexico observing the same, in this case, a Jupiter N-type event. Okay, well that's it on the just a quick overview of the data archive, and I'll entertain a question or two about that if you have any.
I have a question. So, as I will explain tomorrow, I would prefer to have something else than images, but images could be used if they were not in color. If the density scale was in black and white, it would be much easier to grab the data and try to use it from that. Because the gray level would be in intensity. Here it's much more difficult to get it down to an intensity.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting point. Right.
Well, unless you have the conversion data.
Well, there's a couple of ways to address that. One would be if your observer was, when they take the picture, they flip it over to a black and white color scale. And that could be automated, I suppose. And the other thing, I guess, it would be on the analysis end, you could just flip it over to the black. I mean, just...
No, because this is a coding in 3 colors, and it depends on the color scale that you are using. So if the color scale that you are using is always the same...
Well, that's true. I mean, yeah. It's probably better if you have raw data, just because people can adjust the color scale. And that would be hard to compensate for. So...
But if it was on the screenshot of the site, it would work also. You could try to use that color bar that
you have a calibration.
Yeah, and then use it. In black and white, it would be more useful for analysis.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I understand that it's...
That's a good point. And this is where we are. This is one of the... We're at the precipice of, okay, how do we handle the spectrograph data, and what are we going to do with it? And so Baptiste here is going to help us try to make our archive more useful and link it with other archives worldwide. And he'll talk about that more tomorrow. But yeah, that's a valid point. We should probably think about that as we go forward, right? Okay. Any other questions about the archive?
Were these 2 images obtained with SkyPi?
No, these are using the spectrograph software. So it's basically like SkyPi, but now for wideband antenna. So what we're seeing here is a frequency versus time, and then the intensity in the 3rd dimension.
Is that going to be covered later?
Absolutely.
And there is a spectrograph up in the very electronic.
Yeah, we're going to get into the spectrograph in the advanced science or advanced hardware later this afternoon and tomorrow.